Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakatodash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS, who is well, peace, and salutations to the elect. My name is Ainar. The title of the video is Albert Einstein is often quoted as having said, and then I could have put like some question marks there, but we're going to get into what he said. And ultimately, I'll just get right to it. What he said is Albert Einstein is often quoted as having said, I know not with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. All right, and the point of that is because, the missiles are here for a reason, right? Those atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, right, during World War II, right, made made him say this, all right, because he's seen the devastation or heard about the devastation, however it went, and he knew that these type of weapons will be used in the next war, right? And that's why again, so that those bombs, atomic bombs, was dropped in World War II, right? With the first atomic bomb, complete devastation, right? So when after him seeing that or hearing about the destruction, it says Albert Einstein is often quoted as having said, I know not with what weapons World War III will be fought with, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones, meaning or implying that if World War III is fought, all hell by that time, it will cause complete devastation, right? To the point where if World War IV was fought, it will be fought with sticks and stones because everything will be wiped away. Right, and that's exactly what's going to be happening to America and Israel, all right, and wherever else the missiles hit, all right. But we know for sure that American Israel is going to be completely obliterated. All right, Israel will be built back up, right, because that's our land, right. But America will be never inhabited again. So let me grab this real quick. Joel 2:1. It says, "Blow you the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord Yahweh Bashmel shall cometh, for it is nigh at hand. A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness. As the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong, there have not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations." So right here, this is kind of going into the quote that Albert Einstein said, because this is going into the nuclear missiles. So it's saying it has never been anything like this, right? And after, what it say? And it says it won't be anything else like it in the years to come, because once this happens, I don't know how I want to phrase this, because pursuant to Isaiah 2, I'll just grab that real quick, so you can get the full understanding of what I'm trying to say. But pursuant to Isaiah 2, we're going to take power, right? And then we're going to destroy all their weapons. So it's kind of similar, right, to what Albert Einstein said. So anyway, this is Isaiah 24. All right, going into the fact that, we're going to judge the people. Let me just get it from the one. Isaiah 21, it says, the word that Isaiah, the son of Amos, saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem, and it came to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow into it. So now this happens after World War III, basically. Once the nuclear missiles are shot and fired and America is destroyed along with Israel and wherever else the missiles are hit, right, the Lord's elect will be taken up into the chariots, right, attending a ceremony, and then eventually they will come down, right, and put the nations in captivity. You can get Isaiah 14 for, right. It says, verse 3, and many people shall go and say, come ye, and let us go up the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the power of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall not, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. So the point is that the missiles, they have the missiles for a reason, right? And they will be used and shot, but after that, they won't be there no more, right? We're going to take up their weapons, right? They're going to be working, right, in the fields, doing like farming jobs and different jobs that we're going to do. All right, I believe there's another scripture over here in Ezekiel 39. Let me see real quick. Yeah, okay. So Ezekiel 39 and 9, it says, "And they that dwell in the cities of Israel shall go forth and shall set on fire and burn the weapons, both the shields and the bucklers, the bows and the arrows, and the handstaffs and the spears, and they shall burn them with fire 7 years," which is a complete time. But ultimately, we're gonna cause the weapons to be destroyed and burned up. All right. And of course, we're going to use our slaves for that, our servants, which would be all the nations. Ezekiel 39 and 9 says, "Then the people in the towns of Israel will go out and pick up your small and large shields, bows and arrows, javelins and spears, and they will use them for fuel. There will be enough to last them 7 years." All right. So we're going to burn up all the weapons. All right. So going back to this quote that I was reading over here, or the scriptures I was reading, and I said it's kind of like the same thing to the quote of Albert Einstein. So Joel 2 and 2 says, "A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong. There have not been ever the like." All right, so this is talking about the missiles. Now shall be any more after it, because we're going to destroy the missiles and everything else they have once they use the missiles. So they're gonna use all the missiles, but you still have like regular missiles and regular bombs that's not nuclear, or you got guns and all that, tanks and all that. We're gonna destroy all of that shit. All right. It says, "A great people and a strong, there have not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations." Yeah, because it will be no more wars. All right. It says, "A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness, yet and nothing shall escape them." So it's going into the nuclear missiles, right? Before they hit, everything is good, but after they hit, it's desolate, right? It's a desolate wilderness, right? And you can't escape that. So going back over here, I was reading, kind of forgot, the point of what I was saying, but I know through the spirit, you're edified on that. So Albert Einstein said, let's read again. Albert Einstein is often quoted as having said, "I know not with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones." Okay, so World War III nuclear missiles will be shot, right? They will be used, and it won't be no more wars. And Albert Einstein seen the destruction of that. All right. So I'm gonna read a little bit of this. And what I found interesting on this also is it says actual events called World War III. And the real only one here is the 2026 Iran war. All right, because this is World War III. You got the Cold War, right, which was between Russia and America, but they didn't even attack each other directly. You know what I mean? It was the United States and the Soviet Union, right? And then you got the war on terrorism, which I don't even know why this was mentioned. And George W. Bush, he was that happened with 9/11. If we know that Israel did that, they're the true terrorists. All right. So I don't know why this is here. And then the real only one that's here is this one, because this is World War III. It says 2026 Iran war. The United States and Israel attack on Iran on 2026, also called the 2026 Iran war, began by the hostile airstrikes by U.S. and Israel that killed a supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, among others, on February 28th, 2026, Iran. It says the war is ongoing and escalating daily, and has involved many countries and is worth mentioning as a possible World War III. Yes, I don't know who the hell put this on here, but yeah, facts. This is World War III, right? You had what is it? Ukraine just struck Iran, and Ukraine's at war with Russia. And Russia's helping Iran, and NATO is helping Ukraine, and America's with Israel fighting Iran, and China is thinking what they're gonna do next. So there's a lot going on with that. We know it's World War Three. Read this. It says World War Three, also known as the Third World War, is the name given to a possible ongoing or future third global conflict subsequent to World War One and World War Two. Okay, says expectations because technology and weapons have become so advanced. Most people agree that if World War Three ever happens, nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons may be used. And shit, they've been using. I heard biological and chemical weapons already between Russia and Ukraine, right? And Russia has said they found many biolabs. So the only thing they lacking right now is the nuclear. So biological and chemical weapons can be used. Biological weapons are living things, usually bacteria or viruses. Chemical weapons might not kill quickly, but poison people or their land. Nuclear weapons release a vast amount of stored energy through nuclear reactions. Together, nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons are called weapons of mass destruction. Conventional weapons, on the other hand, are normal weapons like guns or chemical explosives. Mass destruction could damage much of the earth, kill many humans, animals, and other living things, and cause the collapse of modern civilization. Albert Einstein is often quoted as having said, I know not uh, with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. Einstein might not have actually said this, but other things that he said show that he believed weapons used in World War III might be so devastating that they would end civilization as we know it. Right. So World War III is here, right? And all they're talking about is nuclear weapons. It says a world war is an international conflict that involves most of all the world's major powers. Therefore, many wars might be called World War III until it actually happens and be documented. See, so again, they have to document it, but it's already documented that this war that's happening right now may be World War III, and it is. That's why these two don't belong here. All right, you can get a Isaiah 34 where it talks about uh, you know, all the nations, and they're saying, well, you need a lot of nations to be World War III or a world war. Isaiah 34 and 1, to come near ye nations to hear and hearken ye people, let the earth hear and all that is therein, the world and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of the Lord, Yahweh Bashmiel shines upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them, he hath delivered them to the slaughter. Right, so the Most High Yahweh Bashmiel Shai is dragging all nations, you know, to the Levant region. All right. Joel 3 says, and 1, for behold, in those days and in that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, right, which is the Lord's judgment, which is that area over there in the Middle East. And guess what? That's what's happening. I will also gather all nations and bring them down into the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and part of my land. Yeah, and we know that Israel dragged America into this war. Why? Because they want the Greater Israel Project, and Iran is a problem for them, and it's so they're parting the land, right? So it all goes together and it all makes sense, right? The Most High Yahweh Bashmiel Shah is not the author of confusion, right? World War III will take place. Revelation 11 and 14, the second woe, which is World War II, is past, and behold, the third woe coming quickly, and the missiles will be used. So getting into a little bit of this, let me see. All right, so I said when the atomic bomb was created, what did Albert Einstein say? Albert Einstein famously stated that signing his 1939 warning letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt was the one great mistake in my life. And he basically was saying, that the Germans or whatever the case may be are making nuclear weapons, and that maybe that you should make your own, right? Explained that he did it only because he feared Nazi Germany would build the bomb first. All right. The 1939 warning co-signed the Epstein slithered letter urging U.S. nuclear research to prevent a German monopoly on atomic weapons. Right, so that's what they dropped, the atomic bombs on Japan. Right, says deep regret. Later remarked, had I known that the Germans would not succeed in producing an atomic bomb, I would I would never have lifted a finger. Right, so he was urging him to create that thing, but this is the Most High's weapon. You get this Jeremiah, I believe it's 50, is it Isaiah 54? Says Isaiah 54:16, it says, behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work, and I have created the waster to destroy. So those are those nuclear missiles. The Most High wanted those things. Well, it started with atomic bombs, right? But as you can see, they have nuclear now, right? Which is far worse. And this was the Most High Yahweh Bashmi Awashai doing, right? This is what he wanted because he has a purpose for those missiles that will be used, all right? NOT, I have created this blacksmith who fans the coals beneath the forge and makes the weapons of destruction. And I have created the armies that destroy it. It's, so straight like that. All right. It says, so he's trying to go for peace. So I said that Albert Einstein helped create the atomic bomb, which he urged them to create it, but says no, Albert Einstein did not help create the atomic bomb, but he helped start the U.S. effort to build one by signing a 1939 warning letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt. He had no role in a secret Manhattan Project because the U.S. Army denied him a security clearance due to his pacifist views and political background. Says the 1939 letter, physicist Leo Szilard wrote a letter to President Roosevelt and asked Einstein to sign it. The Nazi threat, it said the letter warned that Nazi Germany might build an atomic bomb and suggested the U.S. start its own research. Famous equation says his equation E equals mc2 explained that mass can turn into energy, but it was not a step-by-step guide to making a weapon. So no clearance, the U.S. government blocked Einstein from working on the weapon design or research in July 1940. Deep regret. After learning the bomb destroyed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Einstein said that if he had known Germany would fail to make a bomb, he never would have signed the letter. Right? Because he's seen the devastation. And that's why he got that famous quote of what he said. So I clicked on the Manhattan Project and this will pop up. I believe that's what happened. It says Albert Einstein was a German-born theoretical physicist and winner of the 1921 Nobel Prize in Physics. Einstein influenced the beginning of the Manhattan Project, right, which how they created atomic bomb, right? It says in collaboration with Leo Szilard, Einstein wrote a letter to President Roosevelt in 1939 warning of possible German nuclear weapons research and proposing that the United States begin its own research into atomic energy. All right, so you got that. So the main point was the quote, and now these are just a few scriptures describing that those bombs will be used for World War III. Like if they have the nukes will be used. All right. Malachi 4:1, for behold, the day comes that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. That's what nuclear bombs do. They turn things into dust, stubble. Right. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashmal shall host, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. All right. Let's get the NLT here. It says, the Lord of heaven's army says, the day of judgment is coming, burning like a furnace. On that day, the arrogant and the wicked will be burnt up like straw. They will be consumed, roots, branches, and all. All right. We got Isaiah 13 here and 17. It says, behold, I will stir up the knees against them. So it says the title there says Babylon will fall to the Medes. Babylon is America, the Medes is Russia. All right, behold, and I mean, look at what's happening right now. All right, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. So their bows is talking about these nuclear missiles. All right, they're going to launch them. All right, you can't target a specific area with a nuclear missile. Okay, it says in Babylon you can like a whole land area, of course, right? In Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the child's these excellencies shall be as when Yahweh Bashmi Awashad overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. And what happened during that time? Fire rained down, right? And brimstone, right? And you have like these scientists and things and people like that that go over there and find the residue of what was left over there, sulfur and whatnot. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation, neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there, but wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. And the wild beasts of the island shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant palaces. And her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. All right, so the destruction going to, right? That's why nothing will dwell there, but animals, desert creatures, because it's going to be a desert. All right, this is Revelations 16. 17 says, and the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, "It is done." And there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great, And the earth is going to roll to and fro like a drunkard because of the missiles, right? Two, hitting this place, right? And they're going to hit, in different locations around the world. All right. Right, Isaiah 24 and 20, sorry, 19. Isaiah 24 and 19, it says, the earth is utterly broken down, the earth is clean dissolved, the earth is moved exceedingly. The earth shall roll to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. Right, talking about the transgressions being heavy is talking about the missile city. All right. This even goes into the fact that the kings of the earth are going to get punished. Like I gave you Isaiah 14, well, I told you to go there. Isaiah 14, the first few scriptures, but I'll read this. Isaiah 24 and 21, it says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord Yahweh Bashmi shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. And they shall be gathered together as prisoners, or gathered in a pit, in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days shall they be visited. All right. So it says, then the moon shall be confounded and the sun ashamed when the Lord Yahweh Bashmi of hosts shall reign in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem and before his ancients gloriously. All right. So the Lord Yahweh Bashmi is going to, give us the power. But, ultimately the point here was that these elite members are going to be gathered up, all right, put into a pit, like I said, going to Isaiah 14 and whatnot. All right, going back over here, Revelation 16 and 17, it says, and the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, it is done. And there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. And the great city was divided into three parts, and the cities of the nations fell. And great Babylon came in remembrance before Yahweh Bashmi to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not moved. And and every island fled away, and the mines were not found. Right, so complete destruction from nuclear missiles. Right, and there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent, and men blasphemy, yeah, Yahweh because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceeding great. So again, this is talking about nuclear missiles on right America. All right, and that's why I send the islands for the way and monster not found because complete destruction. Right, and that's exactly what's going to happen to Babylon the Great. A complete destruction by the nuclear missiles. You know, so I want to read this. I'm gonna just get it from down here though. So Jeremiah 15:21, it says, "Go up against the land of Merathaim, even against it, and against the inhabitants of Pekod, waste and utterly destroy them, said the Lord Yahweh Bashmal Shai, and do according to all that I have commanded thee." Let me grab this. It says double for rebellion, Merathaim. It says another name for Babylon. All right, so this is talking about America. It says, "A sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction. How was the hammer of the whole earth cut sunder and broken? How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations?" So, complete destruction to Babylon. It says, "I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou was not aware, thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shah." And that snare and that trap is that World War III, right? And it starts right here with them attacking Iran by being dragged out by the least of the flock. It says, "The Lord Yahweh Bashim Shah have opened his armory, now brought forth the weapons of his indignation, for this is the whole work of the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shah of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans." All right. So the armory is open. And I gave you Isaiah 54 around verse 16, where it says the Most High has brought the smith to blow the coals in the fire, right, to make these weapons. And now he has opened it. Right. It says, "Come against her from the utmost water, open her storehouses, cast her up as heaps, and destroy her utterly, that nothing of her be left. Slay all her bullocks, let them go down to the slaughter, woe unto them, for their day is come, the time of their visitation." All right, you get Joel chapter 2. It says the terrible visitation going to show nuclear missiles. It says, "The voice of them that flee and escape out of the land of Babylon, to declare in Zion the vengeance of the Lord, our power, the vengeance of his temple." Right, and the only people that's escaping this, is the elect in this time. All right, but we're gonna be affrighted. We're gonna see it. The scriptures say, "He shall save you out of 6 troubles, yeah, and 7th no evil shall touch thee." So we're gonna be affrighted. We may see the missiles flying in the sky, but we're gonna be beamed up. And then on top of that, we're gonna see the destruction, the lake of fire from the chariots. All right. It says, "Call together the archers against Babylon, all ye that bend the bow." So these archers are the nations that have these nuclear weapons. It says, "Call together the archers against Babylon, all ye that bend the bow, camp against it round about, let none thereof escape." See, recompense her according to her work, according to all that she hath done, do unto her, for she hath been proud against the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Shah, against the Holy One of Israel. Therefore shall her young men fall in the streets, and all her men of war shall be cut off in that day, saith the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Shah. All right. Already it says, "Behold, I'm against thee, O thou most proud, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shah of hosts, for thy day is come, the time that I will visit thee. And the most proud shall be stubble and fall, and none shall raise him up. And I will kindle a fire in his cities, and it shall devour all round about him." So that's destruction, the fires, the nuclear missiles. All right. It says, "O land of arrogance, you will stumble and fall, and no one will raise you up. For I will light a fire in the cities of Babylon that will burn up everything around them." Okay. So it's going to destroy everything, complete destruction. right? And that's why, this dude had that quote because he's seen the first destruction from atomic bombs, right? It says, thus said the Lord Yahweh Bashmal shall host the children of Israel and the children of Judah will press together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. Their Redeemer is strong. The Lord Yahweh Bashmal shall host is his name. He shall thoroughly plead their cause, that he may give rest to the land and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon. A sword is upon the Chaldeans, said the Lord, and upon the inhabitants of Babylon, and upon her princes, and upon her wise men. A sword is upon the liars, and they shall dote. A sword is upon her mighty men, and they shall be dismayed. A sword is upon their horses, and upon their chariots, and upon all the mingled people that are in the midst of her, and they shall become as women. A sword is upon her treasures, and they shall be wrought. All right. So you can keep going. As you see here, verse 40 says, as Yahweh overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighboring cities thereof, said the Lord, so shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell therein. All right, basically going to destruction. Jeremiah 50 is a good chapter for it. I read most of it, you know, just to prove the point that, America will be destroyed, and the missiles will be used. All right, that's the day that burns like an oven. All right, so, Lord willing, you edify from this lesson. Shalom to the hopeful elect, which consists of men, women, and children. Shalom.